Brown lets it fly. Bottom, a three.
From behind, knocking it away. Tatum cashes in.
Richard got it back inside.
We're back, baby. What's up, everyone, and welcome in to your Celtics source, home of your 1-0 preseason Boston Celtics. You know, as always, there's not much that you can take away from a preseason game with guys being out, different lineups, rotations, etc. But I thought the Celtics did a great job of, implementing what they had been working on in practice over the last couple weeks into the game, right? Peyton Pritchard sat this game out. Anthony Simmons sat this game out for the Celtics. On the other side, obviously, Triple J and John Morant, took this game off. But over the last couple weeks, the Celtics have been hammering the pace, right? Playing quickly in transition. And then on the other end, physical defense. And I don't think we saw as much of the physical defense in this game. Yes, I thought they had some great defensive plays where they were trying to force turnovers and stuff. But I thought the biggest thing to take away from this game was just how fast they were playing and how they kept it up throughout the entire game, even when the starters went out, even when, maybe they could have gotten fatigued and up big in the second and third quarters, right? Because they got out to a 20-point lead pretty early in this game, and just the ability to just keep their foot on the pedal was something that we just didn't see a lot last year, and was probably one of the reasons why they collapsed in the playoffs in multiple games, right? But Jaylen Brown, just full head of steam to the basket, right? He finishes with 21 points in, I think, just 20 minutes, something like that. So a big game from Jaylen Brown. We didn't see the playmaking as much from him, but, I think that's going to come. His numbers are definitely going to improve throughout the season and go up, I would think, 2 or 3 assists more than last year with Jayson Tatum being out and him being probably the number one option for playmaking. And we'll talk about Brown's performance a little bit more in just a second, but I did also want to talk about Derrick White real quickly, because I think with all the the eyes that are on Jaylen Brown, Derrick White sometimes gets left behind. And this is a huge year for Derrick White, who has been on the cusp of, maybe an all-star appearance, and now is the number 2 guy on this team, right? And he, I think, can have a huge step-up year. And we saw this, right off the bat tonight. And, he only scored 16 points. It wasn't like, it's not a huge difference from Jaylen Brown's performance. He did play 7 more minutes than Brown did. But he had the 10 assists early in that second quarter to go along with his 16 points. A couple rebounds there as well, right? Just getting other guys involved, getting, all the rookies and all the new players involved, acclimated to, this new team, which I think is what Jaylen Brown and Derrick White have to do, right? Because they can't do it all by themselves. They have to get help from, a number of guys throughout the season. So the earlier you can, build chemistry with them, the better their season's going to go. Right? And I wanted to talk about Baylor Scheierman. I thought he had a great game, shooting, but also playmaking for others. The cutting from, Hugo Gonzalez and, guys like Luka Garza, guys that they picked up, either rookies or, coming over from the Wolves. I just thought they brought the intensity, the energy that, I guess, you're playing for something, so it's expected, but you still never know in a preseason game, right? Especially from a guy like Jaylen Brown as well, who, some of the other stars, and I don't think Jaylen Brown is like that, But other stars in this league, and most stars in this league, quite frankly, would, if they are playing, let alone just sitting on the bench resting, they would be playing sort of very nonchalantly, very lackadaisical, just going through the motions. But Jaylen Brown was definitely not that tonight. He was definitely I wouldn't say it was 100% effort, but it was definitely in the high 80s, 90% full effort, sprinting up and down the court, making deflections, and just being, setting an example for, what this team needs to do pretty much all season. Other things to take away from this game, I think, looking at the box score here, I thought, Amari Williams, he came in at the end, made a couple good passes. The interesting thing is he didn't start. Boucher started, and Queta sat the night out. So, first of all, that tells you that Queta is probably, Joe Mazzulla thinks he's going to have a lot on his plate as the actual season begins. The fact that you're resting him the first preseason game of the season, either he had a hard couple of days in training camp, or they just expect him to play a lot. I expect him to play Friday, but I do think Queta is your starting center. The fact that he sat out with rest today and not an injury, and then they went with Boucher and Hauser. Right? I don't know. I just did a video on this on whether I think Hauser is going to be the start. That fifth starter. Really play the four, but the fifth starter in terms of, because I think the four other spots are locked up. But you could go with a Boucher. You could go with a Simmons. You could go with a number of guys, a Garza, a Minot, who all played really well today and showed that, in different games against different opponents, there might be an opportunity for a different guy to play. But this, we talk about all the transition and the physical defense. It's not going to work if you can't rebound the ball, right? And it started slow for this team. They, lost a couple of defensive rebounds, giving Memphis, a second chance, which, you just can't do it, especially with the lack of talent they have on this team. Right? There is no way they're going to win games if, when they make a stop, they can't secure the ball and ensure that the other team doesn't have another chance, another opportunity to score. Right? And I'm looking here at the box score after watching the game, and, the Grizzlies as a team had 53 rebounds. Out of those, 40 were defensive. And then as the Celtics, 49 rebounds, 33 defense, right? So they got pretty significantly out-rebounded in this game, which is, a problem. And I don't think it's going to be like this. I think they're going to get that average up. You need to be in the high 70s, maybe 80s in defensive rebounding percentage to be a top team in this league, right? I think the average is around 75. And in this game, I think they were over at around 73 by the end of the game, starting at well down in the 60s, right? And so that can't happen. And I don't think it's going to continue to happen because they do have some tall guys that can get in there and be physical. Xavier Tillman can be a good rebounder for this team, right? It's a big bounce back year for him after a rough season where he was dealing with all sorts of injuries and whatever last season, and we never really saw him get a chance to get out there. But he made a couple threes in this game. He, was good on the defensive end, got some rebounds, and, played a key role in like a pivot position where he could get the ball and hand it off to another guy, set screens for Brown, for White. He can do that for Pritchard when he comes back. So I think Tillman can be a huge piece. I don't think he's going to be your starting center because I just don't think he provides quite enough on the offensive end, especially because he's not, a tier 1 athlete, because the Celtics definitely have some of those guys now. some of the younger guys, the rookies, Minot, these smaller guards and forwards that just have some elite athleticism. Jordan Walsh, you put that in that column, right? Those guys, I think, are going to be able to edge out a Tillman, especially if they can hold up defensively, because I think when it's all said and done, defense is, yes, it's going to be a problem for this team, but I think at some point you just need multiple guys who can just make plays, whether that's just being physical, driving at a basket, big dunks, lobs, stuff like that. Stuff that, can energize a team and get them going in situations. Get them out of a slump, maybe that. But, I'm going to wrap it up here because, it's a preseason game. There's not much to talk about. And I do think, we're going to be back on Friday talking about really the same thing. We're going to get a chance to see Peyton Pritchard play. Peyton Pritchard is, White had the most minutes, I think, with like 27 out of, the core guys. I'm surprised. I'll be surprised if Pritchard doesn't play more than 30 minutes because, Pritchard's just one of those guys that just wants to be out there playing. And I'm sure Joe Mazzulla is going to be, try and limit it as much as he can because of, how big of a role he has on this team this year. But at some point, if, he wants to play, just let him play. But, I'm going to wrap it up here. Make sure to follow on social media. You can check out our podcast episodes on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. And also make sure to check out my brand new website and channel, the Boston Sports Network, where we cover all sports, all New England, Boston sports. Patriots, big win against Buffalo. Can they, build on that with a lesser opponent in the Saints this upcoming weekend? Bruins had their first regular season game tonight. I think they won 2-1, if I am correct. The Yankees are out. Blue Jays defeated them tonight 5-1. And last but not least, the Red Sox, look ahead to an offseason where they got to, shore up some spots. There are some questions on this team, but, a productive season and one where you're looking forward to the beginning of next season. But, until next time, go Celtics.
Brown lets it fly. Bottom, a three.
From behind, knocking it away. Tatum cashes in.
Pritchard got it back inside.